The heaviest sprint finish since the dawn of human flight. Picture this, it's stage 1 of the Criterium de Dauphiné, a sprinter's paradise, a finish as flat as a pancake drowned in Belgian syrup, and guess who's in the final 200 yards? Mathieu, literal power station Van der Poel, and Tadej, I weigh less than your groceries, Pogačar. It was supposed to be a clean win. A Dutch heavyweight punishing a Slovenian climber in the flatlands. But alas, Pogačar turned the sprint into an existential crisis for Van der Poel. And then came the comments. Delicious, perfect, tragicomic quotes. Quote, I was in a different weight class. You'd think this was a boxing match between Mike Tyson and a small librarian, not a road race, but Van der Poel's words weren't just poetic. They were a cry for help, a confession, a subtle suggestion that someone, please, for the love of Roubaix, get him a salad. Quote, different weight class is Van der Poel's gentle euphemism for I currently weigh the same as a touring motorcycle. And let's be honest, you know you're in trouble when you start referring to Tadej Pogačar, the man who floats up mountains like a helium balloon with legs, as someone in a lighter division. It's a classic cycling move. When you can't beat someone, you claim they're in a totally different category. Sprinter versus climber? Nope, it's now heavyweight versus featherweight. It's Floyd Mayweather versus a Calvin Klein model. But let's dig deeper. Was Van der Poel joking? Possibly. Was he hurt? Definitely. Was he winded after a 200-yard sprint? Allegedly, yes. Was the sprint itself a visual metaphor for a man losing his soul to a Slovenian? Absolutely. 2. One of the fastest guys. A compliment or a cry for help. Next up on the Mathieu van der Poel apology tour, another classic. Quote, he's one of the fastest guys. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the cycling equivalent of saying, well, he's really good at math, after someone just stole your job, your girlfriend and your KOM. Let's clarify, Tadej Pogačar is one of the fastest guys according to Van der Poel. This is not a man known for hyperbole. This is a man who once rode away from a peloton full of professional cyclists at the Tour of Flanders like they were commuting to work on folding bikes. So if he says someone is fast, they are warp speed intergalactic fast. But you can hear the pain behind the words. Quote, one of the fastest guys. It's like when you lose at Mario Kart to your little cousin and you say he's got great hand-eye coordination. It's noble, it's humble, it's smokescreen for how did that actually happen. In fact, calling Pogačar fast is underselling what happened on stage 1. Van der Poel didn't just get out-sprinted, he got out-vibed. Pogačar practically had to unzip his jersey, look back, and file a Slovenian tax return before Van der Poel crossed the line. Was it speed? Was it fitness? Or was it that dreaded word no professional cyclist wants to utter unless under duress? Form. 3. Almost impossible for me to beat him. The official surrender ceremony. And now the piece de resistance of post-race self-flagellation. Quote, it's almost impossible for me to beat him. Matthew, buddy, blink twice if you're okay. You literally beat him only a few months ago. The quote reads like someone submitting their formal resignation from sprint finishes altogether, like a declaration that Pogačar problem is no longer a minor inconvenience, but a full-blown geopolitical dilemma requiring intervention. Let's analyze almost impossible, not very difficult, not challenging, not depends on the wind, no, almost impossible. This is a man who has stared into the abyss of Pogačar's wattage and seen his own cycling reflection. It's also suspiciously defeatist for a guy who could bench press a peloton. This is Mathieu van der Poel, the man who jumps curbs mid-race like he's on a BMX bike, the guy who wins Strade Bianca on vibes and raw force, and now he's telling us a 66-kilo Tour de France leader is almost impossible to beat. Is this an honest statement about Tadej's freakish form, or is it an elaborate excuse covering up a tragic post-injury fitness drop? Ah yes, the wrist. The wrist that broke 1,000 dreams, and possibly a Peloton bike. Let's rewind the tape to that fateful mountain bike crash. Mathieu van der Poel, fresh off the Spring Classics, decided to tango with gravity at the Nova Mesto Mountain Bike World Cup. His dance partner, the ground, the result a wrist injury that has haunted him ever since, like a tiny ghost living rent-free in his handlebar tape. Now normally a broken wrist would be a minor blip for someone who once dislocated his entire soul on the cobbles of Roubaix and kept riding. But this one hit differently. It was just about bones, it was about belief, it was about training hours lost, watts vanished, and, if we're really being honest, the sudden discovery of comfort food and Zwift racing. Rumours suggest Van der Poel couldn't properly train for weeks. He was spotted doing Zwift rides in low-light rooms wearing hoodies, sipping protein shakes like they were milkshakes. The pain was one thing, the weight gain was another. It's simple physics. If you can't hold the handlebars properly, you're not going to be doing 1,300 watt sprints anytime soon. So I think he's done pretty damn well considering his circumstances. You're going to be doing Netflix marathons, occasional resistance band workouts, and wondering how Tadej's VO2 max can legally exist. The result? A new Mathieu van der Poel, one with less explosiveness and perhaps a little more mass. Now combine that with this detail. Van der Poel is 184 meters tall, Tadej is 176. In Tour de France units, that's the difference between climbs like a butterfly and sprints like a refrigerator. The added wrist-induced fluff didn't help. Mathieu van der Poel went from aero assassin to flying Dutch delivery van in 3 weeks. 5. Big versus small. The tragic geometry of losing to Pogačar. Let's break it down to the very core. Mathieu is a big man. Big in stature, big in frame, big legs, big in presence. Tadej Pogačar is small in size, small in fat percentage, and small in ability to not win races. And therein lies the problem. When Mathieu van der Poel calls it a different weight class, he's telling the tragic story of sprinting physics in the rawest way possible. Sure, being bigger helps in a 1,200 watt drag race, but only if you've actually been doing drag races, not post-wrist injury recovery yoga and mashed potato taste tests. Van der Poel is full force. He should never lose a flat sprint to Pogačar, and yet here we are, because guess who's been quietly training like a maniac for the past 4 months, while Van der Poel was googling, "Can I ride one-handed?" That's right, Mr. Impossible to beat. Pogačar has entered his Joker era. He's no longer just a climber, he's a sprinter, a decimator, a time trialist, an espresso machine with legs. And Van der Poel, he's playing catch-up, looking over his shoulder, wondering when the aliens will come retrieve their Slovenian experiment. Even if Mathieu gets back to full form, which he definitely will, maybe even by the end of Criterium, the law of physics are not in his favour though. Weight class matters, yes, but not if the lighter guy is still pushing more watts. It's like getting beaten in an arm wrestle by someone half your size, not because they're stronger, but because you've forgotten how to arm wrestle. Final thoughts. The art of losing with grace. Another incredible soundbite. Let's be honest, Mathieu van der Poel is still one of the best cyclists on earth. He's still terrifying when he wants to be, but when you get out-sprinted by Tadej Pogačar on stage 1 of a race that was literally built for punchers, you either cry, get mad, or start giving interviews like you've just been through therapy or a divorce. And Van der Poel, he chose all 3. He gave us the weight class analogy, he gave us the no one of the faster guys, pat on the back, and he gave us the almost impossible to beat resignation letter. It was dignified, it was human, and it was just the right amount of tragic. Now all that's left to wait. Wait for Van der Poel to heal, and wait for the watts to come back. Wait for the scales to be tipped literally, because you better believe this man is going to show up to the Tour de France with the fury of 1,000 cobblestones and the body fat percentage of a French baguette. But for now, we'll cherish these quotes and responses from Van der Poel, these little gifts from a man who lost to a climber in a sprint and lived to tell the tale. A tale of wrist pain, weight gain and wattage loss. A tale of being big when small was better. A tale of losing gracefully-ish. Thanks for watching today's video. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe to stay up to date with all of our latest cycling news, cycling drama and cycling results. Leave a like on today's video and I'll see you guys in the next episode.